Hi guys, so this morning I'm going to be doing some work on Heath and just see what parts I can find for him. Um, he's really charismatic, he's so interesting, he's very subtle. So I think it's going to be a good time. So let's take a look. Here's an interview he's doing about um, his movie A Knight's Tale, which is it's a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Patriot, not too long ago.
Yeah, that's
we
right.
did this. We
Yeah.
talked about. Now, A Knight's Tale. Coming of age romantic comedy. Agree with that?
Yeah.
But we're just talking about when you sit down, it's more than just a movie about the
Yeah.
Middle Ages of the 14th century. There's a lot of fun twists. And how do you feel about that?
No, you're absolutely right. It presents you with a smorgasbord of just everything, and yeah, the comedy and the romance,
The music.
the action, which God, it's phenomenal. I don't know how they pulled that off. The stunt guys were, absolutely crazy.
Great stuff.
Yeah, but beyond that, he's smuggled in this heartbeat, this rich, warm heart that just thumps throughout the movie. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. I had a lot of fun making it.
Oh, I can imagine. I read it. You were quoted as saying it was an actor's playground. You dance, you ride horses,
Yeah.
the action, as you said. You get a chance to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That obviously would have been part of the appeal. It was like, oh God, You're absolutely right. It was a playground. It was, and I was lucky enough to have a director, Brian, who's just the loveliest guy. I don't know if you've spoken to him.
Yeah, I just talked to him, and what a great guy.
He's just the nicest guy, and such a talented writer and talented director.
He's not, and he told me, he says, Jim, I wasn't making fun of this time period. I was just bringing it to life.
Bringing it to life, and the idea that people, you can get restricted with historical facts on a piece like this. This movie wasn't about a piece of time in history. It was a story of emotions. It was a story of life. It's a contemporary story set in this time, and so that's why I love how he just smashed down any walls that were keeping us tunneled vision down to being historically correct. It was just smash that out with the music, and
We
we're
will
just
rock
making
you in a
movie.
jousting match.
Yeah.
He zooms in, though. What I liked, Heath, was you get a sense of what these horses are going.
So that's 2 minutes of Heath in an interview. I think what's interesting is how he maintains eye contact. He's very focused on the person in front of him. This interviewer is clearly a smart fellow, or at least he's got a little bit of arrogance tied to his intelligence. So if we go back and we listen to the first question he asks, he says, "Oh, so this movie is something something. Do you agree with that?" So this interviewer has a little push on what I would call his DI. So he's going, "Are you smart enough?" It's like he's talking to a child. He's like, "Would you agree with that?" And it was condescending. And how does Heath respond? He goes, "Yeah." So Heath is just really cool under fire. Really cool. I'll play it again.
Yeah.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you.
Congratulations,
Yeah.
Patriot, not too long ago.
Yeah, that's
we
right.
did this. We talked
Yeah.
about. Now, A Knight's Tale. Coming of age romantic comedy. Agree with that?
Yeah.
But we're just talking about when you sit down, it's more than just a movie about the
Yeah.
Middle Ages of the 14th century. There's a lot of fun twists. And how do you feel about that?
No, you're absolutely right. It presents you with a smorgasbord of just everything, and yeah, the comedy and the romance,
The music.
the action, which God, it's phenomenal. I don't know how they pulled that off. The stunt guys were, absolutely.
So I think it's kind of interesting that he's deferring so much. So one way to remember the difference between DI and DE in objective personality is that DE will often defer and DI will often divide. Like in the sense of an individual. So DE will roll with the punches and DE will defer to someone else. So when we talk about a savior or a demon state, we're talking about energy. And that can be hard to understand what we mean by energy. But what we mean by energy when we say savior energy or a savior state is like a graph that goes up. So when people go into their savior function, they'll often lean into it and they'll kind of pump it up, and you'll see them sort of rise. They'll sort of emotionally rise. And that's not to be confused with the feeling function, because the feeling function is a rational function which values certain goals, things, people, objectives, aesthetics, qualities. So the feeling function, it's like a person who's going to the grocery store and they only have $20. There's a rationality to the feeling function, which goes, okay, so I only have $20, so what can I buy? What value can I exchange for the value I have? So the feeling function in that way is not to be confused with the savior state that we track. So when I see Heath Ledger sort of rise, and he gets this rise out of talking about the brilliance of the director, I do see that as a savior state, and I would say that that corresponds to DE as opposed to DI.
Crazy.
Great stuff.
Yeah, but beyond that, he's smuggled in this heartbeat, this rich, warm heart that just thumps throughout the movie. I'm really proud of it. I had a lot of fun making it.
So. Oh, I can imagine. I read it. You were quoted as saying it was an actor's playground. You dance, you ride horses,
yeah.
The action, as you said, you get a chance to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Well, that's right. That obviously would have been part of the appeal. It was like, oh God, You're absolutely right. It was a playground. It was, and I was lucky enough to have a director, Brian, who's just the loveliest guy.
Okay, so Heath says it's an actor's playground, and that's his quote. And then the interviewer goes, "You're quoted as saying that it was an actor's playground. You did dancing and music, and what does Heath do?" He goes, "You're absolutely right. It was a playground." Well, Heath, wait a second. You're saying he's right, that you're right, because you're the one who said that in the first place. So to me, this is something that DEs do, is they want to say, oh, no. And Dave and Shan know this. They want to defer too much. So he's going, "You're absolutely right. You're so smart. It was a playground. Now that I think about it, it was totally a playground. I'm so glad you brought that up." So this is... This doesn't jump out at me as DI. So with DI, you often have that image of a person with their arms crossed. And they're saying, we need individuality. So I need to know that if I'm a DI, savior DI type, whether first or second savior DI, I need to know that my boundaries will be respected, and that who I am is heard, that I'm seen and heard, and that I have an identity, and that identity can't just easily be taken away. It's that I exist. That's what DI is doing and building and fighting for, is that I exist and I get to choose. Sometimes there are situations where I get to choose, where it's my choice, and that is my and that I'm entitled to that as an individual, or, and sometimes the language is as a child of God, or as an American, or as this or as that. But ultimately it's boiling down to the tribe doesn't get to decide everything for me. And that's I think that's what we mean by freedom, is that there's not everything is tyranny, that we each have our own DI, and you and I ought to be able to make a choice as to an individual choice as to what we get to do in life, independent of what a collective deems best sometimes. So that's DI, and I think Heath clearly demonstrates a consciousness of that, but then he also wants to play. He really wants to play. He wants to hear from the other person, and he wants to bounce back and forth, and he wants to dance. And that's the beauty of DE, is we don't always need these super strict fences and boundaries and guard dogs and sirens and guns. Like, your property does not have to be a military base. You can invite your neighbors over. You can be okay with your neighbor's dog running through the yard if it's a good dog. We can dance and we can get together and have DE. Like, we want to have a good world. We got to respect both of these functions, right? So let's go back to the interview. Let's see more of what Heath has to say. Let's see, is this Save Your DI or Save Your DE from Heath Ledger?
I don't know if you've spoken to him.
Yeah, I just talked to him, and what a great guy.
He's just the nicest guy, and such a talented writer and talented director.
He's not, and he told me, he says, Jim, I wasn't making fun of this time period. I was just bringing it to life.
Bringing it to life, and the idea that people, you can get restricted with historical facts on a piece like this. This movie wasn't about a piece of time in history. It was a story of emotions. It was a story of life. It's a contemporary story set in this time, and so that's why I love how he just smashed down any walls that were keeping us tunneled vision down to being historically correct. It was just smash that out with the music, and
we
we're
will
just
rock
making
you
a
in
movie.
a jousting match.
Yeah.
He zooms in, though. What I liked, Heath, was you get a sense of what these horses are going through. Do you know what I mean? What it must have been like to pick up one of those lances.
Yeah.
The weapons, the costumes, everything.
Yeah. Yeah, you really do. You feel the sweat.
Yeah.
Don't you? You feel like you're on that horse, and you feel like you're.
Did you ever pick up one of those things, a lance, the real ones?
Oh yeah, I was using them at some point.
You were.
Yeah.
You were. Heavy.
So I would suspect that this interviewer, just by the sound of his voice, sounds more DI. The DI voice has a certain sound. It's like very obstinate and stubborn, and it's always putting forward itself, and it can sound almost belligerent, or it can sound completely unconcerned with other people. That's a good way to put it. Unconcerned with how other people are going to take something. And it's your problem, not my problem, how you take or interpret what I say. So the DIs, they're They're like a person at a restaurant who sits down and says to the waiter, "Excuse me, sir, my food is cold." So there's a certain sense in which the DI types are they're advocating for themselves, but then they fail to realize that sometimes that loses them a lot of play opportunities. And if they were just more polite, and obviously I'm biased towards feminine DE because I have feminine DE, but I think that this can apply to feminine DIs as well, is that they are like, I suppose, Donald Trump. They are still going against the grain of the tribe. And you can hear that in a person's voice. So, and then Heath, to me, his voice sounds much more DE. And he's also talking, he's saying we, and he's saying you. So, and you is, that's the second person, is you. You do this and you do that. Well, you're talking about yourself, aren't you, Heath?
Heavy, yeah. Yeah. I mean, but not too heavy. I got, they made a balsa wood. All right.
Well, yeah.
Okay. And mine was rubber.
But
No.
it is really believable.
Yeah.
As is this wonderful cast that works, supporting cast that works around you, and just to, we don't have enough time.
They're
of course.
wonderful.
They're great, and for a film like this.
So the DI guy, and he might be DE, I don't know. I can't even see his face. But the interviewer, he almost sounds facetious or sarcastic or sardonic when he talks about these other people. He's going, yeah, and this really, really wonderful cast, they're just so great. All these other people who are in a tribe, and yeah, they're really great people, aren't they, Heath? And Heath is like, it's like, dude, what's your problem? Like, this was the time of my life. Like, I seriously loved these people. It was a playground. I danced and I got to do these exciting scenes and speak loudly and wear costumes. So to me, when I just hear that emotional state from Heath, the DE doesn't sound like this triggering thing, like a difficult thing for Heath. Whereas with the interviewer, I do hear a little bit of a sharpness when he's talking about that DE. So, I don't know.
To work, you gotta have a good bad guy. Rufus Sewell.
So good, isn't he? Rufus is fantastic.
He's fantastic.
He's so good. And I mean, that's the wonderful thing about Rufus, is he can play that villain, and he did, but just bring sensitivity to him also, And I think it's important to have that with your villains. You want people to, to feel for him.
Mm-hmm.
And you do. You really do. And he's just such a lovely guy. I really loved Rufus. I loved them all. I was really lucky to, because it's an ensemble cast. It's not just the night. And I was truly lucky, as well as just being beautiful people, that we all just really got along. They were lovely people. They were just, brilliant actors.
Shot in the Czech Republic.
So DEs, they genuinely love other people. So if you're someone with DI and you're watching this and you're thinking, he's not serious, is he? He's lying, basically. No, he like really, really, I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm crazy, but no, seriously, he loves other people, and now he's giving it up for Rufus, who's the villain, and earlier he was giving it up for Brian, who is the director. And he's just really lucky. And he's lucky to even have been born. And he's just happy to be here. And hopefully you'll keep paying Heath. But, if you don't pay him, he won't mind. And if he doesn't eat anything, you know what? He won't mind. And if he shrivels away and dies, you know what? That's okay. I shouldn't take up too much resources anyways. Because I exist for other people. So that's where the DE can go wrong, is they start to the DEs are literally not eating. They're not being given the most basic resources because they're not doing enough fighting with the tribe, or dividing, like cutting and building walls. That just is a part of life. It just does happen, and we have to do it. It's just a part of life. This morning I went on a walk, and there was this enormous pit bull in the road, and he clearly was not fixed, and he had a spiked collar, and he growled at me. And I realized in that moment, he was standing there in the middle of the road, huge pit bull, that he had very confrontational body language. He was off a leash. His owners were nowhere to be found, and his jaws were huge. And I knew that he started barking and growling and sort of pacing back and forth. And in that moment, I realized that if I turned around, I would teach him that this is his road, and this isn't a public road, that this road belongs to him. This road, and it was a him, believe me, I could see that perfectly well. And this road belongs to him, and that I'm not allowed to walk on this public road that belongs to everyone. That's what that dog was telling me. So I realized that if I turned around, now keep in mind, I was just wearing flip-flops, right? And it's cold, so my hands are cold. So I'm thinking, all right, time to put my life in the hands of this dog. And what do? I just keep walking, and I walk, and as I get close to the dog starts to growl. And at that point, I genuinely felt fear, and I noticed my body language turned to genuine fear. And then I realized, okay, if I stay fearful, the dog started to growl more. So then I relaxed myself, and I said, hey, go home. And I started to kind of muster up some courage. Go home. And I said it again, go home. And I looked that dog in the eyes. I said, go home. This is a public road. Go home. Go home. Go home. I kept saying it. Dog starts barking. He's running around me in circles. The most terrifying dog I've ever seen. And then he goes and pisses on a tree. He digs up some dirt behind him. I say, this is a public road. Go home. Go home. And now he's pissed because he's like, no way you saying that. Go home, right? So that's part of life. Sometimes you come across a bridge and there's a troll. And it's your choice heroically. You can back down. You can live to fight another day, or you can choose to carry on. And if that dog bit me, it would get put down. So I know that I've got the law on my side. So that allowed me to carry myself much more strongly. And there was nothing happened. So it all turned out okay. So DI is a part of life, and DI is important. It's your sword. I'd say DE is like your shield, and DI is like your sword. So you got to have both. So what I'm hearing from Heath Ledger is he'll often redirect, and that's very DE. So I'll continue.
Yeah.
Great locations.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, it's a great place to shoot in.
Have you had a choice, riding a horse or dancing with Shannon?
I'd have to dance with Shannon.
That dance scene is not bad either.
Yeah.
You know, the choreography is excellent, I thought.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it is great, and I'm going to leave you with that.
Oh,
it is a great.
So I'm seeing more DE than DI. More savior DE. I'm seeing the DE. He's getting a rise out of DE. So in that clip, we saw some crisis of confidence. So I suppose that would tie to a crisis of the DE. I'm sorry, the DI. Mel Gibson, Dave and Shan have as an ESFJ, so he's FE at the top, and I would be inclined to agree. So Mel Gibson would be blast first, and that comes with the confidence of being able to put on a show. Blasters can put on a show. They can get in front of a microphone and they can talk in front of an audience, sometimes with no notice. That's even true of someone with Blast Third. So Consume Play Blast can often do that. If you have Blast Last, that would also explain this crisis of confidence on camera. However, when I see that he took his friend with him to America, they're filming in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, from Australia, that you can't interpret that as save your friends, we'll do that. But then you also see Heath turning back and smiling at his friend. So again, I count all that evidence in favor of DE. I'm seeing the demon DI, a crisis of confidence. So I'm seeing demon DI and demon blast.
How are you handling all this attention you're blasted off?
I don't know. I don't really have a time between there and here to think about that. I'm just, yeah, but it's fun. It's good. It's all right, I guess. I don't know.
Tell us about your character in the film. What you liked about it?
Sorry.
Tell us a little bit about your character. What drew you to him? Why you wanted to do this film?
It was more or less just being drawn to the movie, you know? The character, the movie is about his journey, and it was just the journey that I fell in love with, and the fairy tale aspect of the story I loved. Why? Oh, because it was going to be fun, that's all. I knew it was going to be fun. I liked the fact that he was noble in here and here as opposed to materialistically. I liked him stomping on the aristocracy. You know, I was like, yeah, down, down. It was good. I like doing that.
How do you get on with Rufus?
I love Rufus.
Can I just ask you to take a puff and then take it out because I can't show it if you smoke, that's all.
I love Rufus. No, I love them. I love them all. And is he coming? I hope. I hope he is. Oh, it was wonderful. They're the loveliest guys. They're absolute gentlemen. And Rufus, they all just had the biggest hearts, and they're such talented actors. And yeah, I was very, very lucky to have them around.
And a little bit, I mean, it has a very contemporary soundtrack. It's trying to bring the Middle Ages into medieval England, into, modern.
So notice the actress behind him. She's kind of dancing. A lot of people are screaming and giggling. So when you're around play, it's just electric. When you're on a theater set and you're an actual actor and you're reciting the lines. So I wouldn't put Heath play last. I certainly wouldn't. And especially when you see how much OE he has and how much DE he has, I would be more tempted to put him play first. And that's going off of the definition coin by coin. So I'm not talking about anecdotes. I'm talking about where is he right now? He's at a Hollywood, what is this, a movie? It's not a premiere, is it? Perhaps it's a premiere. And he's smoking a cigarette, asking for a light in front of a lady. There's a lot of play going on here. I would be very slow by the definitions of play and sleep to put play below sleep. Why would I do that right now if I'm seeing him do a bunch of play? And this is what he does for a living, and this is what he gave his life to.
Tell us a little bit how that works.
Good.
I'm radio, so you can smoke. I read that you and Rufus drank too much while making this movie. Can you tell me what it was like? What's that?
Yeah, just very drunk. No, we were never drunk on set. We're smart about that. But yeah, off set we're in Prague. Beer's 20 cents a pint. It's the best beer in the world, so you indulge.
But I read that he would make you have to go on the set really, really early in the morning so that...
So DEs, they nod a lot. So a DE type, let's say they get some cold lasagna at a restaurant. A DE type might just eat the cold lasagna. Or if they do say something, they'll say, "Oh, excuse me, sir. I'm so sorry to bother you, but my lasagna is a little cold. Do you think you could take it back and just heat it up really fast for me?" So the DEs, there's this agreeableness, I would say, is tied to DE. And there's also this sense in which they want to just completely vibe with other people's energy. Like, they just want to nod and just go along. Just go along. Let's just go along. Let's just have a nice go along. And let's vibe. Let's dance. I don't need to go confront a guard dog and put my life in my hands like a DI type would do. So I'm counting this for play above sleep.
I'm a kind of take control sort of guy. But am I ready for this? I'm gonna learn to fly. Francis Dalton, trainer extraordinaire, is going to teach me how to fly. A woman with 1,500 hours of flying. What can I say? I think I'm safe. Now, you should never jump into a plane cockpit without the instructor. In fact, there are a few regulations we should probably go through before we can get close to a Cessna. 1, you have to be 16 years or older to fly solo. 2, you have to have a medical. And 3, you just have to have balls. Well, guts.
Okay, your throttle here, it's like the accelerator in your car. The RPM gauge over there, so pushing this in increases the revs, pulling it out decreases the revs.
Great. And these are the steering wheels.
Yeah. This is a Cessna 172, so it's a 4-seater. You can either learn to fly in a 4-seater or a 2-seater.
And so, in case of emergency, if the engine just dropped out,
Yeah.
can these things glide?
Yeah, they just turn into a glider. The most dangerous phase of the flight is the takeoff and the landing because you're close to the ground. And
So
then
you're safer when you're in the air.
up high, no problem. You just pick a place to land and off you go. But this is a controlled airport, so within the area of the runways, you have to do certain things, behave a certain way, be predictable.
So how big is the reserve tank?
Oh, there's no reserve tank, but
There's
you
no
leave.
reserve tank.
You make sure
Oh,
there's
okay.
reserve.
I'll acknowledge that his feeling and thinking are really close, but he's done a lot of thinking here. He's asking thoughtful questions. How big is the reserve tank?
You're in there. See the big reservoir over there? That's Prospect. You can make a turn over towards that. now,
Okay.
right?
Just turn the wheel, right?
Yeah, just turn the wheel. I can fix anything you do wrong. So.
By pulling it out, they can make...
So I almost wonder if someone like another ENFP who, say, you had an ENFP who was any FI, consume, sleep, play, blast, would he be a little more nervous? He or she? Would an ENFP be going, if they said that same line, how big is the reserve tank? Would there have been a little bit of fear there? Whereas Heath, he's not, he doesn't seem afraid of the thinking function to me.
Makes it up,
Yeah,
doesn't
now
it?
pull back a little, just a little bit.
I'm getting a little bit confused. This is amazing.
That's land. You look right down the end. See where the cars
Yeah.
are right up the far end. Otherwise, you'll pull away from the ground too early.
I understand.
So you look into the distance.
Houston, we have landed. We're down.
Cessna X-ray, Victor X-ray is dual for the training area. Receive Foxtrot.
Now that was fun. And surprisingly easy too. Highly recommend it. Give it a go.
I don't know, when he says, I'm getting a little bit confused, I don't know, maybe that's just single observer. So obviously his deciders are really close. That's feeling and thinking, DI and DE. I agree, the human needs overrule the letter functions.
Well, I really enjoyed this film. This is a smart film. It's a smart film about a period in our country's history that people hold dearly, and they don't want to see it ruined. They want to see it played out. And this is the film that takes itself seriously and does it right. Do you feel like when you were in the middle of working on this film that you were working on something special?
Yeah. It wasn't hard to feel that, because, I mean, for one, we're surrounded by incredible filmmakers, from, Roland and Dean, obviously, and Caleb Dejanel, the DP, everyone down from Deborah Scott doing the costumes, and of course the actors, Mel Gibson and Chris Cooper and Tom Wilkinson, Jason Isaacs, Jolie Richardson. So it was pretty hard not to feel like we were on something good.
He just mentioned like 7 people's first and last names. I can't think of a better frog in Pocket. And then he also mentioned their TE roles that they have, what he said their jobs. And that wasn't even part of the question. So that's just something that spontaneously came up. And that's supposed to be what the DI types cannot do. So that's a frog in Pocket.
Just working on set, and of course the script that Robert Rodat wrote was phenomenal from the start. And so we had all the right ingredients, I think, for a good film from the beginning. So.
Yeah, it has excellent lineage.
Yeah, it does.
In this film all the way through, including John Williams' music score.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you the kind of actor that when you're in the middle of a scene, going toe-to-toe with one of the other actors, say Mel Gibson, do you get lost in the moment easily?
Yeah, I do, I guess. I'm not, I don't want to sound too actory, but yeah, I do. I very rarely, stop and remember a lot that I've done, but at the same time, I'm completely aware, I'm aware of what the camera's doing, and I'm aware of what I've just done at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
probably not.
Absolutely. Moments of this film. Have you seen the film all the way through?
Yeah, I saw it the other night.
What pleases you the most?
I guess the way the chemistry turned out between Mel and I, the father and son relationship. I knew it felt right, and it was comfortable from the get-go, I guess. The whole movie pleased me. I could sit here and give you a list for a mile, really.
Growing up in Australia, that's where you grew up, right?
Yeah.
Very well aware of Mel Gibson as an actor before you were an actor.
Yes.
Did you have any idea growing up that you'd be here doing this?
Yeah, I had this vision when I was like 6 years old that I was going to be working on it. No, fuck, not at all. I always wanted to, of course. He was like a hero of ours. He was the guy, I guess, who bridged the gap between our two industries. He really opened our eyes and let us know that we can work in other countries, particularly Hollywood. And of course, he's Mad Max. So he was, of course, he was my hero. Never dreamed in a million years. No.
Mad Max was wild stuff.
Yeah.
It was great stuff. When it came to this country, it was great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of knew. In the grand scheme of making films and having experiences that are different on every film, what sets this one apart? Is it because it's so athletic and there's so many fight scenes involved and so much energy involved, and less of being so inward, or what sets this one apart from other films you do?
Oh God, I mean, a lot sets it apart from the other films I've done. For starters, the grand scale of it. In terms of storyline, yeah, there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of energy, but that's just portraying the war in which the story is set in. The story, the actual storyline of the family and the father and the son, and even Tabington and the relationship with him and the family. You could pull that out of context. You could pull that out of the Revolutionary War, the Patriot, and you could contemporize that story. Basically it was just set in the Revolutionary War. There's a lot of differences between this and the movies I've done before. I guess.
You got to ride horses.
Again, yeah.
Okay, that sounded more like thinking. And that's more of a cross-check, of course.
show tonight. Heath Ledger is here, stand-up comedian Adam Ferreira, and music from Murphy Lee. All right, let's get right to it. My first guest, very talented actor from Australia. Boy, I like this kid. He's really a terrific actor and a nice guy, too. Some of his movies include The Patriot, A Knight's Tale. His new movie is called Ned Kelly. It's terrific. It opens on March 26th. Please welcome Heath Ledger. Good. Yeah, really good. Now, you've been, what did I read? Oh, you're surfing in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds very cool. What is it like there?
It was fantastic. I went with a couple of mates of mine just to surf for 10 days. We went to the Pacific coast, so it was, black sand, beaches, warm water, so we could surf in board shorts, didn't have to wear a wetsuit.
Oh, here you have to wear a wetsuit, right?
Yeah, it's freezing.
Yeah. Where's the best place you've surfed?
Probably Bali.
Bali? Okay. And are you one of those, guys that goes out in look, it's a thunderstorm and a hurricane, and you go, and do the pipeline deal and all that kind of stuff? No, just kind of...
Yeah, no, I'm a soul surfer, as opposed to...
The what? The what?
A soul surfer.
A soul surfer.
Yeah, I take my time, and it's a relaxing event for me.
So you just go wading.
An athletic event, yeah.
Wading.
Yeah, I just paddle around.
What's the biggest wave? Have you ever seen and gone, oh my God, I can't go, I'm not going to take a chance on that. Have you ever...
Yeah.
What's the biggest wave you've seen?
The biggest wave I've seen?
It's you there with your board, and you go, oh man, I'm not doing that.
Oh, I don't know, probably about 20 feet or something.
Yeah? Oh, okay.
Which is just, ludicrous. So the biggest wave I've surfed is probably a double overhead, probably. So.
Yeah. Have you surfed L.A. here?
Yeah.
How is it here? Is it any good?
Yeah, it is good. Yeah, I've been out there most mornings. I'm doing a movie, Lords of Dogtown.
Okay.
With Catherine Hardwicke, and it's based off the documentary Dogtown Zoo Boys and the skateboarding revolution. And so I've been surfing every morning out here in Venice and up at Point Doom. There's a private beach out there.
Now, is it fun? Is it like a slalom to go through the medical waste? Is it you do?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you need protective eyewear.
Oh, the syringe! Oh, the syringe! Look out for the syringe! That kind of thing. Now you skateboard as well.
Yeah. Well, I did, and I have been lately.
Are you good at that? Are you good?
I'm okay. I'm not really good. But I can.
Are there any
get
tips to skateboarding?
Yeah, stay on, don't fall off.
Stay on, don't fall off. I'm trying. Now, when did you first come to the States? I think I first became aware of you. Was it with the Patriot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a little time before that, so it was about 6 or 7 years ago.
Oh, you were really young when you came.
Yeah, I guess I was 18.
Okay, and what did you do?
What did I do?
What was your first,
Actually, the first job I got when I arrived here was back home in Australia. It was
so you come here, we got your job at home.
Yeah.
That's the way it always works.
I know. Yeah, and that was it. And then I came back. I think 10 Things I Hate About You was the first American film.
Oh, okay. Now, did you have to audition for that? Are you good at that? Are you one of those guys?
I'm terrible at auditioning. I'm pretty sure I've lost more jobs auditioning than I have gained. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I auditioned for that.
But you don't have to audition anymore, right? I mean,
he's definitely bird chirping. Which is something that Dave and Shan have used to identify the way and the cadence with which blast lasters will speak, is they bird chirp. So they don't speak very clearly or with a very strong, even cadence. They're not hitting beats when they talk. This isn't always the case, and blast lasters can learn to fix this. But if you catch them when they're tired or when their thoughts are scattered, their words come out disorganized and often are tapering off. They call this bird chirping. So I watched Shan's sneak peek. From her sneak peek, I get the sense that she likely saw Heath as this type. And I got him. I do believe that he shows more tendencies, more evidence, more instances of these coins, those being intuition, OE, DE, thinking, and single observing, which I would put him here. And I know it's very tempting to make him feminine sensory, but I haven't seen any evidence for that. He's surfing, he's shooting guns, he's making a fist, he's spinning around. His performance in The Joker could be very kinesthetic. It's very mysterious with SI at the bottom, or with SI anywhere, to understand, wait, that's masculine sensory right there. But it's not outgoing. So it's not punching you in the face like SE. It's instead sharpening a knife 100 times, because that's SI, masculine SI. Let me just sharpen this knife 100 times. I would give him masculine sensory. So that's it for Heath. I hope y'all found this instructive and helpful and clear. Thanks so much, guys. I hope you have a great day today and a great week upcoming, and that y'all enjoyed typing Heath, and maybe that you got to watch some of his old movies and enjoy that process too. So thanks so much, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later.